Good morning, everyone. In fact, great morning. My name is Mike Erickson, and I'm the Director of the Economic Development Department for the City of St. Albert. I'm also your Master of Ceremonies. Pardon me, it's a little early. I'm also your Master of Ceremonies this morning. I'm also a father of 2 young children, so I am the master of nothing in my household. So if you'll please indulge me for just maybe enjoying this masterdom for the next 90 minutes or so. Please be patient with me as I'm reacclimatizing to emceeing in person again. I should say that I'm thrilled to be wearing pants again. That's great. And I'm definitely looking forward to not being on mute. Although I'm sure by the end of this, some of you will wish that I did have a mute button. Just like my wife. Every day. I'd like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that we're on Treaty 6 territory, traditional lands of First Nation and Métis peoples. As Treaty people, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, we share the responsibility for stewardship of this beautiful land. All right, I can't believe we're here. After 2 years of cancellations and postponements, the St. Albert Business Breakfast is finally back. It's funny, I've attended several of these business breakfasts in the past, and I've sat in the audience, much like you now. So it's an absolute honor for me to be standing here at the podium this time, here in front of business leaders and community champions, helping to recognize and celebrate the prosperity of our local economy and the success of our business community. Before I get too far into the program, I would like to thank all of you for all that you do to make St. Albert the best city in Canada to do business. To our guests that are joining us from outside of St. Albert, welcome. And thank you for all that you do to make this region and this province's economy stronger. I hope that while you're here, you may learn something new about St. Albert, and maybe why we're starting to turn heads and change perceptions. We have a fantastic program for you today with a number of great speakers. But before we get to that, I'd like to take a moment to share our appreciation and thanks to the many people and organizations that helped make today or this morning possible. I'd like to begin by thanking Gena Manulov and Travis Dochuk, although I didn't see Travis this morning, as well as Happy Man, the owner of this building, for allowing us to host the business breakfast here in St. Albert this year. We had the pleasure of touring this building with Gena a few months ago, and we were so impressed with this building's potential. We felt that hosting an event here would not only provide a one-of-a-kind experience, it would also give us the opportunity to showcase this building's inner charm. So again, much thanks to Happy and Gena. If there's anyone looking for new office or retail space, I'm sure those gentlemen would love to chat with you or take you for a tour maybe after the business breakfast. So I'm seeing nodding, so it sounds like it looks like they've got some time. You may have noticed some of the lovely art displayed around the room this morning. I'd like to give a big thanks to Leah Loudon, Director of the Art Gallery of St. Albert, for providing and beautifying the event space here with local artists' work. If you're interested in learning more about the Art Gallery of St. Albert's programs and upcoming events, please speak with Leah after the event or stop by. We've got a table sort of set up there with some information. I'd like to thank local cellist and musical historian, Julia Darby, for delighting our ears this morning with her classical pieces. She's still there. Good, perfect. Julia is part of a string quartet and has frequently played in performances put on by the St. Albert Chamber Music Society. Thank you to Lynn Kolpak and the fine folks at Socrates Restaurant. We can see it out the window there for the wonderful breakfast this morning. Socrates is consistently voted and ranked as one of the best places for breakfast here in St. Albert, so we're really thrilled that they could be part of the business breakfast this morning. Much thanks to local businesses that provided gifts for our 2 door prizes. So we're gonna run around at some point here and bring the box around so that people can put their business cards or enter in for the wonderful draw prizes that we have and we'll be awarding at the end of the program. All right, so for those of you who may not know, we purposefully chose to host the business breakfast this week because this week is Economic Development Week. Economic Development Week is celebrated across North America, and it's about increasing awareness of the work that's done to help create jobs, increase investment, and ultimately improve the quality of life for communities everywhere. I believe that economic development is a philosophy and a team sport that requires many hands and a steadfast commitment at all levels. With that, I would like to acknowledge our team members. There were several staff that were involved in putting this event together, for members of the Economic Development Department, Corporate Communications, and Public Operations. Much like the event this morning, the vast majority of the hard work in economic development is done behind the scenes and below the surface of the water, as the tip of the iceberg cliche suggests. I'm incredibly proud of our team, so if I could just take a brief self-indulgent moment and ask the members of St. Albert's Economic Development team and the business breakfast team, anybody that was involved in putting this event on today, if I could just ask you to quickly stand up or give a wave so you can be recognized. Thank you. I didn't see, oh, Florence didn't stand up. You didn't stand up. I'd also like to acknowledge the extra efforts of our own Patricia Nickel, who was the driving force and the visionary of the business breakfast this year. Thank you, Pat. Speaking of visionary, a strong community doesn't happen without strong leadership. Thank you as well to City Council and our executive leadership at the City of St. Albert for providing us with a strong vision and strategic plan centered around economic prosperity. And with that, I would like to welcome Her Worship, Mayor Cathy Heron, to bring greetings on behalf of St. Albert City Council.
Morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Cathy Heron, and I am more than proud to be the mayor of this fine city. Before I start, I need to acknowledge my city council. I think I have Ken Mackay in the room, Wes Broadhead. I think Shelley's here. There's Shelley. And I think Mike Killick is here as well. I didn't see you yet, Mike, but good morning. So thank you all for joining me. It is a team sport, and I really appreciate your being here today. And of course, right before I start, I have to acknowledge one very, very, very special guest. We have in the room the Honorable Rick McIver, our Minister of Municipal Affairs. And so, you know, it says something when the Minister of Municipal Affairs comes to St. Albert for breakfast. So thank you so much, Minister McIver, for being here. He was scheduled to attend our last business breakfast, and I remember going over my notes March of 2020, getting ready for this, and all of a sudden the plug was pulled because of the pandemic. So it's nice to be able to be here in person. I know we've heard that a million times, but this event was the last event I was supposed to speak at, and now here we are today. So for me, this is really a sign of a reawakening. I have some other dignitaries in the room I would just really want to quickly acknowledge as well. I believe Mayor Bill Daniluk is here. He was supposed to be here. Morning again, Bill. Mayor Beaumont, and he's joined by one of his councillors, Steve Van Newkirk. And of course, Simon Boersma from Mornville. The regional things is going to happen. Mayor Mornville's here, so thank you, Simon, for joining us. Okay, so you must have noticed at your tables there's some little packages of delicate sunflower seeds. These sunflower seeds provide a gentle reminder of the current situation in Ukraine. Not only are sunflowers spectacular, they are also both highly productive and a major agriculture export of the Ukraine. Most importantly, they are the national flower and a powerful symbol of resistance of the Ukrainian people, and the invasion in Russia is all on our minds today. So, you know, just take a moment today to think about that, because as long as this war is going, we cannot let the images that we're seeing on the screen become part of our daily lives. They have to be continually horrifying. And so please take those seeds and plant them and think of the Ukraine all summer long. So it's been no secret that this last 2 years has been challenging, but despite the challenges, St. Albert saw tremendous economic growth through the pandemic, which I will touch on a bit today. We are poised for substantial investment moving forward. St. Albert is a resilient community. We have supported one another, overcome challenges, and are now focused on moving from recovery to growth. Resilience has kept St. Albert's spirit intact and will continue to be the glue that holds us all together. The next few years will be very exciting in St. Albert in terms of economic development. We are very pleased today to announce that the new offices and production facility of Duraline will be joining St. Albert business community. A few folks from Duraline team are here with us today. We have Justin Farina, did I get that right? Excellent. And Terry Davies. So Justin is the sales manager for Western Canada, and Terry is the director of Leeswood Construction. So for over 50 years, Duraline has been a global leader in production of high-density polyethylene conduit for industries like telecommunications, transportation, electric, enterprise, networking, data centers, and others. These conduits provide the pathway for fiber optic cables, and it's over these fiber optic cables that we connect to the internet and have access to information, education, and entertainment. The pathways Duraline manufactures form the basis of the essential infrastructure, creating communication networks around the world. With over 2,000 employees and more than 16 manufacturing facilities in the world, Duraline is making it easier every day to create a pathway that connects us all. Their operations in St. Albert will be ramping up over the next few months, with a hiring fair to take place with approximately 100 new staff members, with a facility operation manager currently being scouted. It's a 150,000 square foot facility on Carnegie Drive. It will undergo some modifications and will bring an estimated 20+ million in investment to St. Albert. There were natural synergies between the city and Duraline, with a commitment to environmental sustainability being at the top of the list. Duraline was seeking a partner with a similar commitment and philosophies to environmental stewardship, energy efficiencies, and renewable energy generation. The location in Campbell Business Park checked off a number of important physical qualities and was also a close proximity to value-added energy products such as St. Albert Transit, public operations, Service Credit Union Place, the Orion Plastics that provides over 2.5 megawatts of solar PV panels on their rooftops. So we're thrilled to they have chosen St. Albert for their Western Canadian facility. So please join me in welcoming them to our city and to our region. And I take complete credit for them being here. To keep our local and regional economy growing, we need to provide investors with adequate supply of developable commercial and industrial land. Available industrial land for development has been in short supply, but we've taken steps to address the situation and help spur development in the short, medium, and long term. Over the short term, the city recently put up for sale 3 parcels of land in Campbell Business Park, which quickly attracted interest among buyers, and we recently sold all 3 Campbell properties for a revenue of approximately $3 million in proceeds from these sales. In addition, this land will generate new non-residential assessment and will provide additional office and industrial space for more businesses in St. Albert. Over the midterm, we're in the process of servicing our 3rd major business park, the Lakeview Business District, on the city's west side. Stage 1 of extending servicing to this critical area was enabling in part by the municipal stimulus program, which was something I have to thank Minister McIver for. We all know during COVID, the province supported municipalities through some operational money and some capital dollars, and we had to use those dollars to attract investment. So this servicing of this land was what we spent the money on. So it really was very helpful to us. Stage 2 of this project presents the opportunity to bring this area fully online and ready for private investment. Lakeview Business District presents an incredible opportunity for St. Albert and the whole Edmonton metro region, and of course the province. The vision that was created for this area years ago and resulting in job creation is beginning to come to fruition with this incredible connectivity with the region located along Ray Gibbon Drive connector. High demand combined with the scarcity of developable industrial land in this region positions us for tremendous growth in the years to come. Speaking of the Ray Gibbon Drive corridor, with the province's support, we were able to start twinning Ray Gibbon Drive back in 2022. It was the main focus of my entire 2022 speech, and now it's already being built. City Council's initial $27 million investment yielded nearly an immediate injection of $90 million investment in private sector investment along the corridor, including employers like Uline and Alberta Beverage Container Recycling Corporation. That's a pretty decent return on a $27 million investment. Sustained public sector investment along Ray-Gibbon Drive corridor will help encourage additional private sector development and job creation and provide regional opportunities for advancing manufacturing, clean technology, agribusiness, and transportation and logistics, among many other sectors. One of the reasons St. Albert's recent growth is amazing is done by our city staff and their elimination of red tape. Quickly processing development permits and business license applications and support business in locating to our community. This positions the city for innovation and investment. As a city, St. Albert has been hitting new records as we have one of the quickest business license turnaround rates in Alberta. Over the last 5 years, on average, the city's non-residential growth has outpaced residential by more than double. Between 2017 and 2021, the city averaged 4.19% in non-residential growth compared to 1.8% in residential. According to Collier's Q1 2022 industrial report, St. Albert's industrial inventory just surpassed Sherwood Park as we reached just over 4.3 million square feet of space. There's the little regional competition again. This is we can't outpace Strathcona, so I just call it Sherwood Park. This is an extraordinary level of growth, and our goal is to continue to firmly establish an environment where here in St. Albert, that will attract more business and more investment. Non-residential growth will help the city achieve progress towards its goal of 70-30 tax split between the non-res and residential base, which currently sits at about an 80-20 split. A clear sign of the volume of activity in St. Albert is construction and development permits, which set another record high with 5,825 total buildings and mechanical permits applications. I'd have to read this because it's all numbers. 1,076 building permit applications, a record high. 4,742 mechanical permit applications, a record high. And 7 demo permit applications. Residential building permits, all types, was up 25%. From 864 to 1,076, another all-time high. New construction value up 14% to around 200 million. We also reached a record number of businesses with a 5% increase over last year's high of 2,738 licenses in local businesses. The City of St. Albert knows that for us to be successful, we need to support our region's success. We are committed to being a good neighbor, a team player, and a leading advocate for regional collaboration, shared benefit, and collective prosperity. We are proud to have built strong working relationships with other municipalities in our region. These relationships support our day-to-day work, led to formal agreements, and form strong foundations for future initiatives. A great example of how intermunicipal collaboration can lead to successful outcomes is our recent completed annexation of land with Sturgeon County. When we determined the city needed additional land to support the city's continued growth in the coming decades, we knew the most appropriate approach was work closely with Sturgeon County to explore how annexation could better enable sub-regional growth. Our goal from the outset was to achieve an uncontested annexation. To achieve this outcome, we needed to respect one another's perspective, consider one another's needs, and support one another's visions for the future. The result was a successful, uncontested annexation that helps address our long-term needs for developable land. On January 1st of this year, the city added 1,558 hectares of land to our northern boundary with Sturgeon County upon the Government of Alberta's approval. This land will enable St. Albert to continue to responsibly grow for the foreseeable future, consistent with the regional growth plan, and provide our future investment opportunities. The City of St. Albert has also been a key driver in several ongoing regional collaboration efforts. A Memorandum of Understanding was signed during the pandemic by 13 municipalities as part of the Collaborative Economic Development Initiative. The shared goal was to make it easier for new business investments to support economic growth and create new, high-value jobs, as well as build a strong economic future for the entire region. The City of St. Albert is delighted to work in partnership with our neighbors to facilitate this advancement and accelerate growth in all our communities. This sets us on a path to work together to bring shovel-ready land within the region that we can all mutually benefit from. It eliminates the competition, or we call it the race to the bottom, amongst ourselves, and allows us to focus on global investment attraction. Edmonton Global will be able to market regional lands that we have brought online through shared investment much faster than if we had done it alone. This initiative provides an opportunity for provincial investment as well. And the government has recognized this by recently awarding us with a $450,000 grant, the ACP grant. What does that stand for, Minister McIver? And actually, the minister will be in St. Albert in June. I know. We'll be here in June to present the check, and Minister Nally will be joining us, and I hope my regional mayor colleagues will be joining us. We also want to talk about Villeneuve Landing Network. This is an opportunity championed by Sturgeon County that we are exploring with regional partners to work together to create shared benefit through shared investment. We are also one of the leaders in the Edmonton Metropolitan Transit Services Commission, a regional approach to transit. It was proposed in the Be Ready or Be Left Behind report. This report, completed by a Blue Ribbon panel regarding the region's future prosperity, identified regional transit as an imperative for the future global competitiveness of our region. I am so proud of the efforts and commitment of the 8 municipalities who have joined. And I'm especially proud of my councillor, Wes Broadhead, for his role in leading this. I always have to mention that. The Commission, once operational, will enable equal or better local service and a robust regional system that reduces duplication, allocates the combined resources of the region more effectively, reduces barriers for employment, and delivers a needed mobile workforce to employers. All of these initiatives share a common theme: growth for our city and growth for our region. To achieve growth, we need a visionary, dynamic, and effective economic development team who can lead this effort on behalf of the city. Economic development is an important priority for our council and a major focus area for our city staff.
Alberta Community Partners.
Thank you. The ACP. It's early. Economic development is vital for our current and future prosperity, both for our residents and our businesses, and has a direct connection to high-quality services and the high quality of life we enjoy here in St. Albert. Drawing more attention to everyone's work in this area is one of the reasons we hold this annual event, to bring people together to celebrate our success and to hear about our latest initiatives and plans for the future. Council and the city's economic development team cannot do this work in isolation. We need to build partnerships like minded organizations that share our vision and make valuable contributions to support the work we are doing. We are fortunate to have 2 such organizations working alongside us. The Northern Alberta Business Incubator, more commonly known as NABI, plays a valuable role in helping entrepreneurs get established in our community, grow their business, and contribute to the economic prosperity in St. Albert. Myself and other members of council recently had a productive dinner meet and greet with the board of NABI and are excited to see how we can do better at supporting the entrepreneurship here in St. Albert. I also want to mention the St. Albert District Chamber of Commerce and their support for thousands of business advocates on the behalf and contributes to creating business-friendly environment in which to do business. In the past 2 years, we've been working even closer together to support our businesses through the pandemic. And as we emerge, I'm always grateful to be able to pick up the phone and call the chair for advice and assistance. Together, we can achieve far more than we could working alone. The city appreciates the strong partnership we have established to support ongoing economic development. And of course, to bring awareness to the work we are doing on May 2nd, I proclaimed the week of May 9th to be Economic Development Week here in St. Albert. This proclamation was made to profile the importance of economic development for every member of our community, business owner, employees, investors, residents, and of course our council. In addition to growing our economy, economic development provides good jobs for residents, improves our quality of life. Much attention is paid to recent investments, projects, and openings. However, council is equally focused on the success of our existing businesses, particularly those in the downtown of St. Albert, a very historical engine to our local economy and an important part of our vibrant future. Making successful plans starts with successful conversations. City Council and City's Economic Development Team, in partnership with local organizations and business leaders, organized a gathering to have a conversation of the best way to profile and support the great business located in the downtown of St. Albert. On March 23rd, we hosted the Downtown Business Engagement Session, aimed to bring together local business to share ideas on how to continue growing and inspiring people to visit and shop in our downtown core, the heart of our community. Panita McBrien, the executive director of the Edmonton Downtown Business Association, was the guest speaker, and the idea of establishing a business improvement area was a topic that seemed to gain some momentum amongst the downtown businesses. At the meeting, I was energized by the visionary and entrepreneurial spirit of our downtown business owners, and look forward to continued conversations and a positive future. The downtown will be a strategic priority for this council. Before we could focus on the positive, we had to get through the pandemic. As a city, we have taken actions and demonstrated our care about the businesses located in our community. Recognizing our business community was particularly hard hit by the pandemic, the city established the COVID-19 Recovery Task Force, made up of dedicated business and community leaders. The task force provided multiple recommendations to accelerate growth, investment, and financial diversification, one of which was a business resiliency grant. With the support of City Council, we worked together to implement the grant, which provided much-needed support for local businesses. Each local business had an opportunity to access about $1,000 to bolster their marketing or enhance their online presence. The program received 90 applications from St. Albert businesses and provided over $8,000 in support for their marketing on digitalization efforts. This highlights the city's ongoing effort to help local business navigate the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and build a more resilient economy moving into the future, and our ongoing growth is indicative of the strength and adaptability of our business community. I would actually need far more time to fully describe all the work that has taken place behind the scenes to support economic development in St. Albert. I have only been able to offer you a high-level overview of the key aspects of our city's approach and our commitment to prioritizing economic development for our community. By working together with our local and regional partners, we have created a business-friendly environment that makes us a preferred destination to invest and to do business. Together, we welcome and facilitate new investment and attract new businesses and help them grow and chart a path forward for our community and our region and beyond. As we look to the future for our city and our province, the outlook is bright, very bright indeed. So thank you again for joining us. I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentations and share my excitement and optimism and love of this city and what lies ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Heron. I was looking at all of the awards that were broken last year, and I think it's about time that we call Guinness. All right, so St. Albert, I mean, as we heard, is a dynamic and diverse business community, ranging from small home-based businesses to large industrial enterprises. Each business has their own unique journey and their own unique story. Collectively, they help tell the story of why the best place for business is right here in St. Albert. Through the city's Right Here campaign, it's been a privilege for us to be able to share the stories of our local businesses, and in doing so, showcasing the success and strength of our business community, as well as the benefits of starting, locating, and growing right here. So, for your viewing pleasure, we've put together a short highlight reel of some of our local success stories. Please enjoy.
I started homebrewing at home, got really serious about it there, and then we decided to go professionally and start to Never Brew.
Blue Kettle actually just revolved from a hobby that turned into a business. Started making salsa and going to the very first farmers market, and amazed that people would come back the next week or the week after looking for more.
I started making bread and selling it at the St. Albert Farmers Market.
I had this grand idea that you could make a living doing custom formulating of coatings for companies that needed specialized coatings.
Orion Plastics is a manufacturer of custom extruded plastic sheet products. We import raw materials from around the world and bring them to our manufacturing plant here in St. Albert, Alberta.
Toolhound is a tool and equipment tracking software package. It's used primarily by construction companies to track their tools, track their equipment, make sure that they reduce their theft and hoarding.
Tempest Fire Protection is located in St. Albert. We have a crew of approximately 25 guys. We work in many regions in Western Canada, installing fire suppression systems.
We started oil and city signs in the basement of our home. The wow moment came, about 3 years down the road where we were getting overwhelmed and the house was getting too small to produce everything. So we started looking for a shop here in St. Albert.
From humble beginnings, Standard General moved to St. Albert in 1970.
1995, we started Sarasota Homes.
Our cake shop has been in business since 2012. We've now changed into a full-scale coffee house and as well as a bake shop.
In 2008, we set up our own facility here in St. Albert.
This year actually marks the 60th year of the St. Albert Gazette being in the community. We currently serve 19 communities across the province. This is head office.
We want to kind of bring that whole beer culture to St. Albert where people come and hang out and socialize and make new friends, and everybody knows everybody's name.
Right now we're working in land development, in real estate, in new builds.
And now here we are in Riel Park in a building that we've expanded at least once and probably have to expand again.
We wanted to be in St. Albert because we have been a part of the community for so long.
We now have 440 employees, and a lot of them call St. Albert home base.
We had a really good experience dealing with the people at the City of St. Albert. They were very welcoming to us.
The City of St. Albert has been awesome.
The city has also advocated on our behalf to make sure that we have high-speed internet, which is really important for our business.
It's a great community that it is supportive of a good business.
There's such fantastic support from the local community.
The people that live in this community are very supportive of local business.
We do get the question all the time from land developers, why would you ever consider building outside of St. Albert? And my answer is there's really no better place to live.
We love it here. I would recommend St. Albert to any business to come and live and work here.
I would encourage anybody to look at St. Albert as a great place to be for their business and for their staff.
This is a great place to live, a great place to work, and we couldn't be prouder to be here.
All right, time to welcome our next speaker. We made eye contact, so she knows she's up next. This is perfect. Heather Thompson is on a mission to re-energize communities, a mission which she pursues through two roles. She's the executive director of the University of Alberta's Centre for Cities and Communities and mentors the next generation of business innovators. Heather works with leaders in the business community with an emphasis on education, consulting, academic and applied research, and industry outreach. Heather is also a consultant with 13 Ways Incorporated, delivering business and community assessments and building community plans that specialize in economic development, local business prosperity, and beautification. Heather has also worked with dozens of communities across North America. Please join me in welcoming Heather Thompson to the stage.
Put that down. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Wow, I'm gonna echo Mayor Heron. It is nice to see everyone in real life. I know we're gonna say that a million times, but the novelty is not worn off on me yet. Thank you for the introduction, Mike. My name is Heather. I do work for the University of Alberta at a new Centre for Cities and Communities, formerly the School of Retailing. I also work for 13 Ways Incorporated, where we help with business and community planning. And I'm really lucky because both of those jobs allows me to look at research and the data as it relates to consumer psychology and consumer behavior. And I think it's safe to say that this is a really interesting time right now. And I think as we go through the different data points, it's really important that we're looking to see what's here to stay from a business perspective so we're able to capitalize on those profits. So I'm gonna go through 12 trends. I know it said 13 trends in the advertisement, so my apologies, it is only 12. And if anybody wants any of the data points or any of the research photos, happy to share, and I'll give you my contact as well. So I only have about 30 minutes-ish, so I'm gonna jump right in. Okay, so the first trend here is that consumers are digitally savvy. And I think this is an obvious one, especially what's happened over the last few years. But I think the important thing to note here is that we were seeing this pretty consistent with the younger demographics, but now we're actually seeing this with the older demographics. So we're seeing baby boomers. So before the pandemic, we had baby boomers that were about 55% of them were shopping online pretty consistently. And as of March of 2022, that number is now 84%. So when I say baby boomers, I'm talking about people who were born between the years of 1946 and 1964. So that's a significant shift in consumer behavior, and that isn't going anywhere. So this is something that we really need to make sure that we're paying attention to. Does anyone know what this picture is? I know it's hard to tell. Oh, you guys have them back there. Okay, awesome. So this is actually a lady who is doing some shopping in Seoul, South Korea. This is actually a subway station. So it's not actually a grocery store. This is silkscreen wrapping. These are pictures. So she's taking pictures of the products on her via QR code, and then it'll be shipped to her house by the end of the day. So obviously things like this in a dense population make sense, but we're going to see more things thanks to the vaccine passport and menus. We are very familiar with QR codes. Like my mom uses QR codes pretty consistently. So something to pay attention to. And we're going to start to see, even at the end in grocery stores, we call them end caps, or at Walmart, you're going to see QR codes and you're going to learn about products. So again, this is just hitting the tip of the iceberg as to how consumers are going to start to become more aware of what's digitally possible. Anyone know what this is? It's a smart cart. So same thing, using different technology. Maybe it's QR codes, weighted sensors on shelves, or security cameras. But essentially, you go into the store and you take it off the shelf and it automatically bills you. So there is no checkout. So the interesting thing about the data with the early adopters that actually use these self-checkout sort of things is that it actually doesn't save the company too much money because they're repurposing the staff into different areas, value-add areas. And in terms of the actual consumer, they actually spend more time around the grocery store. So it's meant to enhance the experience. It's not necessarily meant to save us time or money, but I think we can all agree that the idea of having to use a conveyor belt in 2022 is absolutely mind-blowing. So these are coming really soon, and I think for the majority of consumers, we are ready for this. And this one's interesting. This one just came out in terms of a new stat. 46% of Canadians are planning to purchase cryptocurrency in the next 10 months. So I was really surprised to see this, and maybe there's a lot of people in here who've already done so. But a few years ago, this was a really foreign idea. So now we're starting to see more and more Canadians opting for this idea and moving towards cryptocurrency. So just something to be aware of. And like I said, I'm just kind of going over the surface of what the new digital technology is. But in terms of what mass consumers are using, these are the big ones, and we need to be prepared from it from a business standpoint. The next trend here, we need to make sure it looks pretty. And I'm oversimplifying this, but aesthetics are really important. And I work with a lot of businesses, and they say, I'll get around to it, maybe later. And I need to be really clear when I say it's not a nice to have, it is a cost of staying in the game. We need to make sure we are making things really pretty. We are in the Instagram world, we are visual human beings. And if something doesn't look nice, whether it's a dentist office, plumbing supply company, or a shoe store, if it doesn't look nice, people are going to go shop somewhere else. It really is that simple. And so now we need to make sure that as people are starting to go back into brick and mortar businesses, that they do look really nice. So this is a really important one that I think a lot of businesses can overlook, but I just want to say you have to make it pretty. And when I say pretty, I mean like aesthetically pleasing and just really clean and really nice. The next trend here is that it really isn't binary anymore. So when I say binary, we're talking about brick and mortar versus digital online e-commerce. Now, even that term omni-channel kind of annoys me a little bit. It isn't omni-channel. This is just business. People want one or the other. You need to have both. So you need to make sure that if you are a business like Wayfair, they came on the market, they were strictly e-commerce, now they're opening up physical locations. So it's really important that businesses have both. Ikea is an interesting one because Ikea nailed the experiential retail before it was even a thing. So when we talk about experiential retail, this is the big one. People need to have a great experience. And Ikea, used to ditch your kids in the ball pit. I'm excited for that to open again. Get your 80-cent meatballs. It was great. You unknowingly walk about 3.1 kilometers if you do the whole Ikea thing. It's 180,000 square feet. Now, you can't put this in every market. It's just too big. So if you were to think about this in like downtown Manhattan, it wouldn't make sense. But this is something called the planning studio. So this is about 1,500 square feet. So you can go in and you can look at the products from a digital means, augmented reality, and then the product will be shipped right to your house. Because in 2014, Ikea was actually not doing terribly well. And that was because Wayfair came onto the market. And so Wayfair essentially was able to be in every market because they were strictly online. So Ikea had to redevelop, and so they were able to do this sort of hybrid model. And we're going to start to see more and more of this as companies start to use both means. I think the next trend we need to be aware of is we need to be redefining what the marketplace is, or maybe even what retail is. And for the longest time as consumers, we were beholden to our geographic area. And so businesses, they had the main business model to supply product. Their business model that was successful was distribution. That no longer makes sense. So if you look at this picture here, so this is a department store in the late 1880s, and this was the department store that we kind of all grew up with. If you think about Sears, think about the Bay. What's the first thing when you walk into the Bay or Sears? What do you see? Cosmetics, perfume, right? And that hasn't changed, and that's crazy to me because the perfume made sense back in the turn of the century, the last turn of the century, because there was horses and the streets were smelly. But this just goes to show that the department stores, especially in 2008, when they were really having a tough time, they didn't do what they could to evolve. And so now we're seeing a lot of businesses in the department store world, big box stores, leave the market. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So now what we're left with is an overabundance of space in a lot of markets. So because we're losing 150,000 square foot spaces and most retail tenants are looking for 1,500 square foot space, we're having this over influx. But I want to make something really clear. Just because it looks like there's a lot of vacancy out there, that doesn't mean that brick and mortar retail is dying. It's actually the opposite. It's actually just doing quite well. But shipping is so sophisticated, we don't need everything on hand. Because consumers, thanks to Amazon, but Amazon's limited, and I'm going to explain why. Consumers somehow thought that they could be their own distribution center because of Amazon. But Amazon is a marketplace. And if you actually think about your experience with Amazon, it is limited. It hasn't really evolved. It isn't super fun, but it gets you the product. 57% of consumers will go on Amazon for a product search, and 26% of those people will go on to purchase. So that's a significant number. But the cool thing is that that number is actually starting to slow down. Because a few years ago, I would say, don't compete with Amazon, you're going to lose. But that's not the case anymore. There's been so much emphasis and investment for small businesses, for local businesses, to have the same affordability and scalability that Amazon can do. So they now can do same-day shipping. They can now do seamless checkouts. They make it as easy as Amazon. And there's been a lot of talk about small business investment and supporting the business community. And it really has been made very clear over the last 2 years that they meant business. So speaking on regional collaboration, this is our group of students. We have now 30 students, full-time students. So in the region of the Edmonton metropolitan region, we have 13 municipalities, and they are running the digital economy program. So they're working with thousands of businesses in the Edmonton region to help them implement some sort of digital system to enhance profits. So it's really exciting, in City of St. Albert and Town of Morinville, and pretty much the whole ring, including the City of Edmonton, is part of this initiative. So I thought that was kind of a fun little example of the regional collaboration as well. So I just want to say that there's a lot of investment happening. So we're starting to see more and more businesses be able to compete with Amazon and actually outrun Amazon. Which leads me to my next point. People are wanting to shop local. So this one's really fun. So 75% of Canadians have increased their efforts to shop locally during the pandemic. Before the pandemic, this was closer to 40%. So this is an insane amount of shift. So what we're seeing here in May of 2020, Amazon couldn't do the overnight delivery, if everyone remembers. It took a while. So consumers needed to have the incentive to go and see what was in their backyard. And over the last few years, this education was happening about how important it is to support your local businesses, because we were able to see firsthand what happens when they leave the market, and thousands of businesses didn't survive the pandemic. But if we do shop locally, more money stays in the economy, which we know. Local businesses do a better job of actually supporting community causes. And I love the video because we heard some examples of people that said they started out in farmers markets. Farmers markets in North America doubled from 2009 to 2019. This was before the pandemic. So this is a really interesting thing to be aware of, because we're starting to see consumers shift their values. And this is something that we need to be paying attention to, because farmers markets, they don't come more local than that, and they're still doing very well. It's also becoming more affordable to shop locally. There's less variables, and this is a brand new, couple weeks old visual from Shopify. But this is, I'm not gonna go into it, but you can just see the growth of the cost for the freight containers. It's and this will level out, right, as we start to, it's easier to stop an economy than it is to restart it. So this will level out, but the costs are going to be really high and inconsistent over the next few years. So we need to make sure that we are supporting the local economy, because it actually will, in a lot of ways, could end up saving us some money. So this is something called the Walmart Town Center. So this is a concept that they've been working on for about a decade, but in a nutshell, they're going to take over their 250,000 square foot spaces, and they're going to put in these town centers. So similar price points, similar product selection, but again, you don't need that massive space to house inventory anymore. So they want to repurpose that space. So here you've got a band, some other ones you have a cafe, a children's playground, but they really want people to say, hey, let's go hang out at Walmart, which is crazy. I can't even picture myself saying that, but they're working really hard at it. But the interesting thing to note is that as local businesses, we can do it faster and we can probably do it better. And I think it's worth taking note that if Walmart's spending the millions of dollars on R&D to come up with this concept, this is really good news for our community. Some of the things that consumers are looking for is specialization. So when I'm talking about that the brick and mortar market is actually growing, these are the sort of businesses that are actually growing. So House of Knives, has anyone been there? Yeah, it's like they sell knives. One of the biggest things as a grown-up that I was shocked at was how expensive knives are. Like, that just blew my mind. But so you want to have good knives. So this store is growing, it's growing all across Canada and into the United States. We don't have one of these yet, so if there's any entrepreneurs in here, please bring one in or something like it. It's called the Container Store. So this is the United States. It's a big box store or a little box store. Get it? Okay. Everyone's gonna leave now, I swear. But this one, again, it's so interesting in how successful, and they're constantly running out of product. And it might be a bit trendy right now, but home organization is really important, and they're doing very well. Crocs. If there's one thing to take away from this entire morning, it's that Crocs are back in fashion. But even before they were, Crocs did very well. They had their own store. They didn't need to be part of a bigger shoe store. They had their own store. So these are just a few examples of stores that are very specialized, that are growing, and this is a consistent trend that we're seeing. Because the next point here I have is consumer motivators. So these are shifting. So for the majority of time, we had two dominant sort of consumers. So we had the value-driven consumer, and so this consumer is concerned with stretching their dollars. So they want the best bang for their buck. And you have the purpose-driven consumer, and these are the consumers that are more concerned with experience, quality, and service. So for the majority of time, value-driven consumers were the majority. And then in 2020, we saw this evening out happen. So we saw the purpose-driven consumer rise in popularity. And this was during the pandemic and economic uncertainty. And then in 2021, we saw more purpose-driven consumers represent the market. So that's not to say that value-driven consumers are going anywhere, whether it's a personality thing. Like, I swear, if you were to give my in-laws a check for $10 billion, they would still never go to Starbucks or anything like that. Or it's your economic circumstances. So I want to be very clear when I say this doesn't mean that the value-driven consumer is going anywhere. But the purpose-driven consumer isn't new either. So this is an early example of an advertisement in a newspaper from Ford. This is a really cool example. It was a clear example that, hey, let's value your time over your money. This was something really novel 100 years ago, but we're starting to see this more and more, and this is a really key indicator for just how well consumers are doing in a nutshell, and we'll get into the demographic specifics. Okay, so where I was going with this is that consumer motivators and consumer motivations are really tied to demographic specific data. So I'm gonna go through a few points here, but the thing to note that's important is that you yourself might identify with a different demographic in terms of your spending patterns. What I'm going off of is the different data points from Moneris and Visa and things like that. So please don't be offended. It's always a good way to start, right? Okay, so let's look at millennials. So millennials are people that were born between 1980-ish to about 1997-ish, and it's up for debate. But let's look at some consumer motivators as it relates to millennials. So millennials, we're going to inherit $30 trillion. We really appreciate, woohoo, I know, yay. That's right, just baby boomers, let's go. Right now we have $143 billion in spending power from around the globe. And we're really confident about our money and financial goals, which probably has something to do with all the money we're going to inherit. And we're not motivated by sales. So these are just some general data points. Let's look at Gen X and Boomers. So my apologies with Gen X. Those are people who were born 1965 to 1980. And there's not a lot of data out there. Actually, they start to call you the forgotten generation. So, and then we got the Boomers. So again, 46 to 64. So let's look at some Boomers. So 82% of Boomers are on social media, predominantly Facebook. Boomers care the most about customer service. They care about loyalty and they love great customer service. And Boomers have more wealth than any other generation, which makes sense because we're going to take it all. I always think when people are like, let's make a business for people who have the money, you want to make a business for people who spend the money because those are two very different things. And then Gen Xers, they love to do their research, which is kind of ironic that there's not a lot of research for Gen Xers. And they love personalization. And a couple weeks ago, we were at a conference, we were talking about this, and all the Gen Xers were like, yeah, I love when my initials on something. I'm like, cool, like, great, that's, you do you. So this one's kind of a fun picture. So let's talk about Gen Z really quickly. So this is the new up-and-coming demographic. So this was a picture of a high school teacher. So in her 4th period class, she said, hey, everyone, all students, turn up your ringers and your notifications, and let's track it. So every time there was a notification on a phone, she tracked it. So we have Facebook, Snapchat, email, text messaging, Instagram, Twitter, group, which is like TikTok. Do you guys like the phone call ones? Isn't that funny? The reason I want to point this out is that Gen Z, they do a really good job of connecting with local businesses because local businesses know how to operate these platforms. So it's really important. And as this demographic starts to accumulate more wealth, they're not automatically going to start watching commercials or something like that. They're going to keep communicating via these manners. And so this is really important to pay attention to. And I also feel like this is very overwhelming for that teacher. Like, this is 30 people in 1 hour. Like, we should do that with this group and see. It's all phone calls. Okay, the next trend here is, sorry. Keeping it simple. So at Lululemon, where I worked for about 10 years, we had this saying, which was like, don't forget the apples, which is pretty much means don't forget what makes you successful. So remember Toys R Us? They're still obviously in Canada. But in the United States, they did this, which is really sad. I guess everyone has grown up. There's no more Toys R Us kids. Isn't that heartbreaking? Don't worry, it gets good. So a couple years ago, I was able to hear the president and CEO of Toys R Us Canada talk about their expansion into the United States or going back into the United States and their plans for the Canadian market. And she said something that was really interesting. She said, toy stores should be fun. And I was like, yeah, toy stores should be fun. Has anyone been to a Toys R Us, like our ones here with a 5-year-old? Not fun. You're pretty much fighting the whole way through, right? You're like, don't touch that. We're here for a birthday present. Don't look at that. It's really difficult. But now, this is the new Toys R Us store. So this is the new concept for New Jersey. You can see a slide in there, right? It looks fun. It's interactive. It's experiential. This Toys R Us store is going to be fun. This is a teeny little example. This is in Elk Rapids, Michigan, and it's called the Stony Cottage Toy Store. They've been around for 30 years, and they specialize in the best toys in the world. So they put a lot of emphasis on customer service, training, and when you go in there, it can't be more than 400 square feet. It's very small, and they blow your mind, and you walk away spending hundreds of dollars because they're just so knowledgeable, and it's really fun. So again, you want to keep it simple. You want to make sure, going kind of back to that specialization point, this is what consumers are wanting. My next trend here, which piggybacks on that, is customer service. So not just for the boomers, we're talking about everybody here. Everyone loves customer service. And when I work with a lot of businesses and they say, I can't compete with Amazon, big box is killing me, when we actually do an assessment, the customer service is at best average. This is a huge, huge competitive advantage we have as local businesses. So we want to make sure that we're really adhering to what it is people are looking for as it relates to customer service. One of my girlfriends works for Tiffany & Co., and they're embarking upon this really large etiquette training, which kind of seems like from the 1950s. And I thought that was kind of funny. And she said, no, it's really meant to just understand the roots of customer service. And I thought that was really interesting because now, especially now, we as consumers are really interested in connecting with other people. And EQ, so emotional intelligence, is becoming more important than IQ as things become more automated. So this is a really big distinguisher for profits. I was talking with Doug Loveson, who is the president of Friesen Brothers, because he has record tenure for his stores, and people have been there forever. And I said, how do you do it with an industry that typically has higher turnover? And he said, you can't win at scale. I was like, that's interesting. Yeah, I guess you can. And he said, skill is what creates margin. And I thought, yes, people are his bread and butter. There's another pun for you. Sourdough bread, that's right. So I just thought this was an interesting one. You're going to see more and more examples like this, but winning at customer service is what will create the big profits, because that's what people are looking for. The next thing here is that consumers really want to be inspired. They don't want that aspirational quality here. So I'm going to go over a few ones, and I know some people here have seen this already, but here are some things of what not to do. So this is a collaboration between Gucci and Bugaboo Strollers. This is a little old now. As a mom, I find this photo funny, slightly offensive. This doesn't speak to mothers. This doesn't, or anyone who's having a baby. This doesn't make sense, and this collaboration did not do well. And a lot of the product needed to be destroyed, because you can't sell discounted Gucci, right? That's not how it works. This is changing, which is kind of fun. We're starting to see discount or luxury brands. It's starting to become illegal to actually destroy luxury brand clothing, so they do have to repurpose it, but this is years ago, and I thought this was kind of a fun example. Victoria's Secret. They've done a 180 in the last 2 years. So they're predominantly, it's a women's clothing store, which was designed by men. And I think over the last few years, we've kind of had enough, and we said we want to be comfortable, and their diversity didn't exist. So now they're starting to do better, but I almost feel like it might be too late. And if you look at their shares and how many stores they've pulled from the market, it's really astounding, and it totally makes sense when you start to think about what they did and how they're doing it too late. Even Nike, it's not, they used to do this sort of stuff, right? Have a celebrity and say, buy our product. It doesn't make sense anymore. People want to be inspired. So I'm going to show a commercial here that Nike did, and it was the most shared commercial in 2018. So we're just going to watch it really quickly. Oh, can you just click on the Nike, click on Arnold's face. It's not embedded? No? Okay. That's okay. No big deal. It's a really good commercial. I highly recommend it. Essentially, it's about women in sports. But my point here is that as consumers, we want to be inspired. And this is something that we really need to make sure we are giving over to our consumers, because they want to ultimately connect with us. And can I click? Awesome. Okay, so we're talking about repurposing this retail space, commercial space. I want to talk about mixing up what traditional retail looks like. So we do work with a few chambers of commerce, and they're saying, oh my gosh, there's too many services in our main street. It doesn't look like it used to. But we need to redefine what it looks like in our brains, because somewhere post-World War II, we thought a good main street should have a mix of restaurants and retail. But now so many consumers are their own distribution channels that we've talked about, that we need to have a broader mix, a broader definition of what our main streets look like. And this is something that consumers are seeing, because ultimately we want more foot traffic. So let's go through a few of these things. So interactive experiences. So these are things like gyms, spas, medi-spas. Wow, that is a growing industry. This is a fun example. So this is something called Creactive. This is Cirque du Soleil. They ended up purchasing some old Sears spaces, and then you can go in and pay a fee and learn what it's like to be a Cirque du Soleil member. Talk about interactive. That one did not do so well in the pandemic, unfortunately, but we're going to see this resurgence come with these interactive experiences. Services are important. They bring down foot traffic. They bring different clientele down. So this is important. We want to make sure that we have services to the right extent. Food and beverage. This one is critically important. And for some reason, when you look at the psychology of our brain, we equate the quality of a community with the quality of the food and beverage establishments. Fair or not fair, but it is important for us to take note of. Childcare. This is a really interesting one. We talk about childcare as a key economic driver, and studies after studies show that we should be putting in childcare in the main fabric of our society. We talk about, for example, in Edmonton, some of the cheapest real estate is downtown Edmonton, and there's not enough childcare spaces. So we need to incorporate this into our everyday mix because this is a huge economic driver. Co-working facilities, I use this term very loosely. Has anyone ever been to like the Citizen Salon downtown in Edmonton? These are this micro incubator space. So this one's aesthetics. So it's about 100 square foot for a little stall for someone to do their hair or their nails or tanning or whatever it is. Does anyone tan anymore? Maybe that's an old example. But whatever it is, so we just need to make sure that we're providing these spaces for people to come together to collaborate and do their best work. And I know St. Albert has some really great co-working facilities. And of course, we want retail. We also want lodging and we want grocery. So these are a few of the really key things that we need to make sure we have a mix in our fabrics of our business centers. And the last trend here I have that consumers are really excited about is when businesses collaborate. So there was a lot of this happening during the pandemic. So a few of these examples here. So we have the Alberta box, which was from Sobeys. This sold out really quickly. So they worked with 22 local, so again, the term local is very subjective. In this context, it meant the province. Local producers within Alberta. It sold out really fast. They're doing it again. This one is called the Mini Marche. So this is with Indigo chapters. So they would go through and have a competition, and the winners would be able to sell their product on Indigo. So people like to see that sort of collaboration of the bigger stores helping out the smaller businesses. And then American Express. So this one's called the Shop Small campaign. So what American Express would do, they would give very large grants. They would also purchase really expensive advertising space in magazines in downtown Toronto on billboards and give it to local smaller companies. So we started to see this really cool space in the world where we saw businesses really supporting other businesses. And that collaboration around not just businesses, but in communities is becoming really important and really profitable. So we want to make sure we're paying attention to those different things. And I think, generally speaking, this is a really positive time. I know there's a lot of economic uncertainty, but we're really excited to see all these different things that are taking place. And I'm happy to share any of this data with you. I said I could talk about this stuff all day long, but I am probably out of time. So I'm going to wrap it up. But there's my contact information, my phone number, and my email address. So if you need anything, feel free to reach out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Heather. We've got a small gift of appreciation from a local artist here. I can just bring it back to the table. So my takeaway from that was I just got rid of my Crocs. So I seem to be always missing the trend when it comes to fashion. So thank you for ruining my morning, Heather. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Lynette Trombley is the Vice President, Investor Relations with Invest Alberta Corporation, a newly created organization focused on attracting high-impact, high-value investment to Alberta. Prior to Invest Alberta, Lynette served as VP, Strategy and Innovation with Edmonton Global, helping attract foreign direct investment to the Edmonton metropolitan region. Lynette has held senior roles in economic development, municipal and provincial governments, and the private sector in British Columbia, Ontario, and Alberta over the past 13 years. She's helped build and transform organizations by leading marketing, communications, policy, and stakeholder relations efforts. Lynette has also served on the board of Edmonton Screen Industries Office and volunteers her time mentoring and supporting women's leadership initiatives. Here to bring some perspective from the province or around the province is Lynette. Welcome, Lynette.
I'm sure Minister McIver will confirm I do not speak for the province. Maybe today I do. So thanks. I also took away so much from Heather's presentation. I love that. I also loved how you rolled with all of the technical glitches. When you give presentations, those things do happen and they're always nerve-wracking. But also I just have to say, like, as a shoe lover, an avid shoe lover, I am devastated that Crocs are coming back. Like, just, no. And they should, actually I did see some Crocs with high heels and it like just ate at my soul. So Mike, just leave the Crocs, so it's fine. And also it's really great to see a lot of friendly faces. A lot of people here feel like family, and I've worked around the region for a number of years. I actually am a St. Albert expat. I worked for the city of St. Albert years ago. And at the time, I worked on Ray Gibbon Drive and the annexation files. And then, a few short years after I left, they took off. So you're welcome. You're welcome, Mayor. So, I guess the answer is I should leave Invest Alberta, and Alberta is going to lead the nation in growth. No, we actually are leading the nation in growth, so it's very exciting. And we did just start up a few short years ago, so 2 years actually Invest Alberta has been created, and we've worked really hard to grow and scale and try to get our feet under us, but we really can only do that with the support of our partners. So I agree with Mike when he said many hands. We work really closely with Edmonton Global and of course the amazing team at the City of St. Albert, and I've worked with actually a lot of these folks across the region, so it's nice to see them. And I've worked a lot with Pat, so thanks, Pat, for inviting me here, although she gave me 20 minutes and she gave Heather 30. So I think it's like when I say to my little brother, show up at 6:30 and the thing starts at 7. She knows I'm going to take 30 anyway, so let's get this party started. So a little bit about Invest Alberta before I get going into, a lot of what I'm going to say is going to align a lot with what Heather said, but I'm going to take it sort of up a level and think about it from the global investor perspective. And then I'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing to attract investment to the province. So as Mike said, Invest Alberta focuses on attracting high value, high impact investment into the province. And people often ask me, do you set a threshold? So is it, we will only deal with a minimum of 100 million or 500 jobs? And we say no, because what high impact and high value means to each community is very different. And we're committed to attracting high impact, high value investment to every community. Our role in each deal and investment is going to be different, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we go along, but we are committed to supporting the entire province's economic growth, and this is the only time I'll say it today, diversification. I try to eradicate certain words from my vernacular, so I'm going to try not to say ecosystem, diversification, transformation, and innovation, but I can't promise that. So what do we do for investors? We, in support and in partnership with our partners, in a nutshell, what we try to do is make it as easy as possible for a business to say yes to Alberta and to get started in Alberta. And that includes expansion. So some of the things that we do is we help them navigate and connect into all the different levels of government and the policy and regulatory environment. We help translate, to be honest, government speak to business speak, and business speak to government speak. So we help be that translator and that connector. We help them connect to various businesses in the province because that's a lot of what the decision-making process looks like. They want to meet with the businesses in the community that they're looking at because they want to see what is the business culture like and what do potential customers for us, what do they want in this market? Doesn't mean they're going to try to sell to you, they just want to better understand the market. And so one of the things that we really value is when businesses across Alberta are willing to take the time to meet with an investor, to host an investor and welcome them to the community, because that goes a long way. As Heather said, customer service is a difference maker when it comes to attracting investment as well as your customers. Some of the other things we do is we're trying to take a whole different approach to hosting investors in the province. So whenever they come here, we're trying to make this a full experience with Alberta, not just a fly in, fly out, because let's be honest, if they're flying in and out, they're probably only coming into Edmonton and Calgary, and they're missing a whole amazing part of the province. So we have an investor experience team that is focused on coming up with really creative ways on how we can expose them to all of Alberta. Some of it includes just finding products from across the province that are created by local businesses and giving that as part of a welcome package to expose them to all of the amazing things that get created here. Some of it is if we can get them to stay over a weekend, or we can do a day trip, we take them outside of the big cities and we explore different parts, because that's actually, as I'll talk about in a bit, a huge part of our value proposition. So we actually need to show people that. And that other part about hosting them with partnerships and businesses and hotels and restaurants, that collaborative business culture, that's another thing that we try to show them as well. So in essence, basically what we say to them is, whatever you need, we're going to find a way to make it happen. Whether it's us or a network of networks, we will bring everybody to the table. And how we work with Edmonton Global and all local communities and the other regions is basically we we take the investor around, and then we basically bring everybody to the table who needs to be at the table. So we don't really believe in handoffs, because the minute you hand something off, there's a chance that it's going to drop. So what we prefer to do is bring hands in, and so everything is a partnership to us. And then in terms of our team, we have a growing team here in Alberta. We've been trying really hard to scale up so that we can be more supportive to all of our partners. But we also have a team across the world that helps us connect into those markets and helps our businesses connect into those markets as well. So most of it is concentrated in Asia at the moment, but we have worked really hard to figure out where are the markets that we need to be in, that we need to promote Alberta in. And of course, the US is a no-brainer. That's where most of our investment comes from. So we've established a team in Houston and San Francisco. We're working on New York, possibly Seattle. And you might be surprised to see Vancouver and Toronto on the screen here, but a lot of the investment that's coming into Alberta is coming from within Canada. So that's a lot of the multinational companies and even smaller companies that are looking for an expanded Canada presence. They make their decisions out of Toronto and Vancouver. So we're actually seeing a lot of also businesses from BC moving into Alberta and expanding, but also relocating their corporate headquarters. So we're really proud of one recent one, a clean energy company, a solar company out of the UK. They've actually moved their headquarters from BC to Alberta just last month. And so I won't take too much time, but like I said, we've only been established for 2 years, but we've tried to work really hard with partners to land already some deals. And so our investors have announced about 19 billion, it's updated from that slide, about 19 billion to date in planned investment into Alberta. And I think the number is, that's still accurate, just over 5,000 jobs, permanent jobs that go along with those investments. So that's basically in the years to come as they roll them out, but there's a number of our investors that we've been working with that have already started hiring, and there's actually a lot in the pipeline that we're really excited about, but just has not been able to be announced yet because COVID really has been wreaking havoc on some of those announcements. Across the province, here are a few recent announcements. So one of the ones I wanted to point out that's exciting is just outside the Edmonton region. It's in Vegreville, but we announced just a couple weeks ago, Inca Renewables is a really exciting company, a BC company, that is going to be setting up a hemp manufacturing plant just outside Vegreville. And they take hemp and they manufacture car parts and airplane parts and things like that. And they're a really innovative clean tech company. A lot of interest in the financial services and back office type work because Toronto, Vancouver, and other jurisdictions are becoming really, really expensive, and they are looking to relocate a lot of their staff, and they're looking at Alberta because we're more affordable and people like to live here. So this is a real opportunity for us to capitalize on, and that's where I think communities like St. Albert can really play a key role. Amazon Web Services, I'll talk about some opportunities we're seeing around that data center piece in a little bit. And then, of course, hydrogen is a big one. We just had the Edmonton Hydrogen Convention a couple of weeks ago. Congratulations to everybody who put that on. It was incredible. And this is going to be a really big opportunity. So Air Products being sort of the first out the gate in that landmark net zero hydrogen facility. And then on agriculture, I'll talk a little bit about it later on, but Goodleaf, we announced late last year, they're creating a vertical farm. This one's in Calgary, but I think that this is another innovative piece that can transform those empty spaces that Heather talked about, that Alberta could be really competitive for. And it's not to take away from our primary agriculture, it's actually just an enhancement, and it's something that we can actually export across the world in terms of technology and the way that we do things. So taking it back a step and talking about the global economic environment, if I was to sum it up in one photo, it would be this. And that's probably also how Heather feels about this morning's presentation. So it's been up and down, up and down, up and down, to the point where I think we don't know which way is up half the time. The economists feel this way, certainly, because they make projections, they revise their projections, revise, and that's still happening. So we did think at the start of this year that economic growth we would basically be fully recovered by the end of this year from the pandemic. And now, because of certain events, economists are revising those projections. Now, Alberta's growth is still projected to be really significant, but it doesn't operate in a vacuum. So global growth does impact Alberta's ability to attract investment. I'll talk about a few of those sort of global events and trends that are impacting investment. So this is a big one. In addition to it being just a horrifying situation, it is having a significant impact on the global economy. One example is we were working with a company out of the UK that is investing in a biofuel facility in northern Alberta. And we thought in January, we were ready to go, ready to announce, and they were ready to move forward. And then the war in Ukraine happened, and they said, we have to hit pause because our financiers are out of Austria and Germany, and that has shifted some of their ability to move forward. So what happens over there has these ripple effects that can severely impact us being able to move projects forward over here. The other thing that this has done is actually spurred a lot of conversations about energy safety, security, and supply. And countries now, whole countries, are reassessing who they get their energy from and what matters to them about who they get their energy from, which presents actually a real opportunity for Alberta. But it also really solidifies the fact that ESG matters and how we tell our ESG story matters. Because now, to put it bluntly, countries and companies are looking at, if you're an energy producing jurisdiction, are you safe? Do you care about people? And are you corrupt? So, I mean, it goes deeper than that, but at a basic level, that's where they're looking, where that didn't really matter before. So it goes back to what Heather said about value-driven versus purpose-driven. Countries, not just consumers, but also companies, are now looking at purpose-driven decisions. COVID lockdowns in China, again, are having a huge impact on the economy. Consumer-driven behavior, their highest employment since the beginning of the pandemic, but also it's disrupting supply chains. So supply chain disruptions are now really compounding inflation issues and the ability to get goods to market. It's also not just the COVID lockdowns, but the issues in China have also spurred a lot of other conversations around energy security and supply. So critical minerals has now become a hot topic of discussion when electric vehicle batteries are becoming highly in demand, and China controls most of the world's critical minerals. So now everyone is looking at, we don't want to get all of our energy from Russia, we don't want to get all of our critical minerals from China, so what is the alternative? And we say Alberta. Inflation, so everything costs more. Everything costs more. Even your horrible Crocs cost more, which is probably a good thing. Stop buying them. So the Federal Reserve in the U.S. has tried to put some measures in place to curb the fastest inflation they're seeing in decades. But of course, those supply chain disruptions and the war in Ukraine are counteracting those measures. So economists and financial institutions across the world are really concerned about inflation and the impact it's going to have. And it's, of course, impacting investment decisions. And then this is intended to represent competition. It's hard to find an image for competition, but I do like that the woman is leading and winning here. So, you know, I do like to support women leaders. So competition is increasing, and it had always been increasing. COVID accelerated it, but now it is just intense competition. A small example that I give is we were working with some agriculture companies looking at southern Alberta, and the Premier of Saskatchewan found out, I don't know if he's got our phones bugged or what, but he called up the CEOs of these companies and said, we will do whatever it takes to get you to Saskatchewan. And then they followed it up with a letter of offer totaling millions of dollars in incentives. And so now all of a sudden, something that was a sure thing, we were all of a sudden competing with Saskatchewan, and a different financial consideration was at play. Now, it doesn't mean, as Mayor Heron referenced, the race to the bottom, that we have to go dollar for dollar with every jurisdiction. It doesn't mean that at all. There's other ways to be competitive and land an investment. And in fact, our customer service sort of won the day on that one. Invest Alberta, in collaboration with the province and the municipality, put together basically a package that said, we can't match dollar for dollar, but these are the things we're willing to do to make it easier for you to invest. And they decided to invest in Alberta. So it was a good news story, but I guess at the end of the day, competition is really fierce. And so that's where our value proposition has to be really sound. And we have to be on the ball. We have to be basically fighting for every investment. And so generally, all of this is leading to all kinds of trends in economic development, but it's also leading to a lot of trends that Heather alluded to. So automation, e-commerce, and also entrepreneurship are on the rise. So a lot of people, because they're seeing a lot of this uncertainty, you would think that they would choose safety, but a lot of people are actually choosing to start businesses. And so those are things that we're trying to capitalize on as well. So part of the reason all of these things are on the rise, and I've put this chart up now for a couple of years, but updated it with the 2020. So just briefly, I'll talk about the trends that have been going on in the economy. This list represents the highest valued companies in the U.S. on the S&P 500 list, and then the gold bars represent the portion of the value of those companies that comes from tangible assets like land, inventory, and buildings and equipment. And the blue bar represents the portion of the value of those companies that comes from intangible assets. So that includes data, patents, software, and brand. So I find it interesting that brand actually is part of the value of a company now. So their brand directly speaks to their bottom line. And as you'll see, basically over the last number of decades, to the point where in 2020, 90% of the value of the highest valued companies in the US comes from brand and intangible assets. So this is also why ESG has become critically important, because a place that a company chooses, their brand relates to the company's brand, which directly relates to their financial health and sustainability. So we did a little bit of research. Heather and I were nerding out on research, but don't worry, I won't go into detail on the research, just the findings. It was a 200-page report if you would like to have it, but we worked with a global marketing firm called Edelman, and they basically canvassed capital investors, senior decision makers, and entrepreneurs across the world, and they asked them questions that led to how do you get your information, how do you make decisions, and what matters to you in your decision making, so that we could better understand the audience that we're targeting. So a little bit about each cohort here. Capital investors, they're basically investment bankers, financial institutions, private equity firms, hedge funds, those types. And they make investments on behalf of funds and other wealth owners into projects and businesses across the world. And so they are very well informed. They are predominantly male. They're actually trending quite young, but they also are early adopters. So they make it their business to know everything that's going on in the world, and they want to be investing on the leading edge and the cutting edge of what's next. That's kind of how they make their decisions. Senior decision makers, those are your CEOs, executives of companies. Generally, they report to a board of directors, potentially have shareholders. They're a little bit more moderate in their adoption. So they like to not be the first into a market. They like stability in a market. So they want to see a market that's fairly well established, that they know that they can justify that decision to their boards. And then entrepreneurs are, of course, business owners, like a lot of you in the room. And generally, they are looking for places where they can be on the cutting edge, but they don't want to be, again, the first ones in market there. They want some financial stability, but they want a place where they can innovate and create. So what matters to them? Across the board, they all said that these four things mattered the most. So as you can see, tied for first is growth and financial opportunity. It's still a business decision at the end of the day. But lifestyle and attracting talent, tied for first. So that has been one of the biggest shifts, and we've been talking about it for a couple of years, but now it's solidified that talent is the determinant, basically, of where investment goes. And a jurisdiction's ability to attract, train, and retain talent is dependent upon their ability to attract business. And it's not just the talent of what we have. Businesses want to know, what's it like to be in the community? What's it like to live there? What do you have for recreation? You know, will my employees enjoy being there? Because retention is also important. Ease of doing business. Now, this can tend to be a bit of a buzzword as well, but a lot of what Mayor Heron talked about earlier is that ease of doing business piece. How are you going to make it easy for them to establish? How are you going to make it easy for them to do their business here? And we are trying to hone in on exactly what that looks like for Alberta, but we rely a lot on each community to basically be able to tell us that for themselves. And then ESG is maybe not the top, but it's in the top 4 for sure in terms of what matters to them in their decision making. And both from a company standpoint, but also a personal standpoint, because a lot of these people are making decisions on personal basis. Mike and I were talking about, it is a business decision, but there was one company that made a decision to locate somewhere purely because that's where the CEO wanted to live. So a lot of this comes down to personal preference, which is why hosting them appropriately, telling our story well, matters. So we also did some research around where can Alberta be competitive in the context of these global economic trends and shifts. I'll talk a little bit about each one. And then just to put a bit of a caveat on this is not the only thing that Alberta can be competitive for. Each community has their own advantages that they're examining, but these are some of the sort of bigger moving pieces that we're trying to target and attract into the province and what we're seeing. So hydrogen, I talked a bit about as well, but it's the whole hydrogen economy, not just production of hydrogen. One of the interesting things that we're looking at is how hydrogen intersects with other sectors. So we also are talking to big film studios out of LA and other places, and ones that want to locate here, and they run on diesel generators, and they're really interested for their own ESG purposes in running off of hydrogen generators. So it's about this broader application of hydrogen across the sectors and across the economy. Carbon capture technology, so the ability for us to capture CO2 and store it underground safely, this is a differentiator for Alberta. This is what's going to enable us to produce hydrogen at net zero emissions, and that is what's going to basically put us in play for that ESG energy production. Renewables. This is one where I think we have huge opportunity, and it's one that people don't necessarily think about when it comes to Alberta, but we're really trying to get the message out there. So I say to people, did you know Alberta is the sunniest province in Canada? I don't talk about temperature, but we do have a lot of sun, and that makes us really good for solar production. And also very windy. I was at a conference last week, and I talked about wind, and I said, you may not want to live in Lethbridge, but you want to put a wind turbine there. And then the guy got up at the question period, and he said, I'm from Lethbridge. And so now I don't disparage any communities. But seriously, Lethbridge is very windy, and they have a lot of wind power there. And so Alberta has the potential to make up 83% of the renewables growth in Canada by 2030. And we are really trying to get that message out there, because the other part to the blue hydrogen from natural gas is a huge opportunity, but the ability to take solar production, combine it with electrolysis, and create green hydrogen is also an opportunity for us. And we're talking to the Associate Minister of Natural Gas about how we get that moving. We've got a few big projects really interested in that. Agriculture, Agritech is a huge opportunity globally, and it's both in the sense of primary agriculture, but also when it comes to things like vertical farming. So we can basically create the technology that gets exported across the world that improves agriculture production and food production. Basically, one of our advantages is we are one of the one of the 3 AI hubs in Canada. So we have the talent here that can develop the technology, but we also have the playground where they can validate and commercialize it. That is a huge advantage, and that's something we talk to people about across every sector. And then alternative proteins. This is a huge opportunity for us. We're one of the biggest exporters of pulse crops and alternative protein crops. So that's peas, beans, lentils, oats, and canola can all be converted into protein sources and then converted into food products. And so instead of exporting them, we want to be able to convert them to protein sources and then to food products here. And obviously, based on the video, there's a lot of potential for food production and all kinds of food and beverage industries here. So this is a huge opportunity for us. And exactly, feed the world. And as the population across the world keeps growing and they're looking for alternative sources of protein, we should be that source. Technology. So this is, and again, one of those things across sectors, clean tech. I talk a lot globally about how incredible our clean tech industry is, and people don't know about it, but I say there's incredibly talented and smart people in the energy industry that when they see an opportunity or a challenge, they find a solution. They create a technology. They spin out a company. That's how our clean tech industry has grown. And that also is the culture of Alberta. See an opportunity, see a challenge, create a solution, and make things better. That's the nature of our innovation. We don't just innovate for innovation's sake. We're not crock-wearing, kooky granola-eating people. We are hardy problem solvers. And that's a really compelling value proposition for a lot of industries. FinTech. The province is doing a lot to create really conducive regulatory environments to attracting lots of technology development. So there was recently a financial sandbox legislation introduced by the government of Alberta that basically allows people to create new financial technologies, and it has the potential to really grow this sector across Alberta. This is another space I think that the Edmonton region is really competitive for. And health tech. This one is a big one. We haven't grown it quite yet, but I think it has potential. So we're looking at combining all of the R&D capabilities that we have with, like I said, this playground where we have all this data, we have willing participants and collaborators to be able to create healthcare solutions, medical technologies, and new pharmaceutical products. We really, I want to go back to when I was talking about the senior decision makers and getting on people's radar and things like that. One of the hardest things we have to do is just, like I said, get on people's radar. The awareness factor for Alberta is one of our biggest challenges, is that people just don't know about Alberta. There was a biomanufacturing company that made it known publicly that they were interested in putting a location somewhere in Canada. We knew Alberta probably wasn't competitive enough to win that investment, but we wanted to get on their radar. Our goal was to get a pitch. Sometimes that is a win. And so we worked hard. We worked with Edmonton Global. We worked with Calgary Economic Development. Believe it or not, Calgary and Edmonton worked together. It was glorious. The birds were singing. And we basically got in front of the investor, and they gave us less than a week to pull together a pitch. They gave us a 4 p.m. on Friday time slot. The one guy was in Madrid, and it was 10 p.m., and he was drinking beer when we got on the call. So we knew they were taking this seriously, but we didn't care. We launched into our pitch, and we really gave it our all. We brought the whole Team Alberta spirit, and we made the shortlist. So we made the shortlist with Ontario and Quebec, and that was a tall order. We obviously didn't make it beyond that, but what they did do is they said, call us in the next quarter because there's R&D projects and other projects we think you might be competitive for. And before that, they had never heard of Alberta. They didn't really know anything about us. So it's that kind of grit and perseverance that gets us in the door and starts to get some of these companies invested in Alberta and interested in Alberta. And we asked them what was compelling, like what got us onto the list. We know we didn't have the infrastructure. And they said it was, you were really clear about your value proposition. You had a really compelling package that you put together. And basically you made it come across that you would do whatever it took to get the investment here and that you cared about our investment. And so it was, again, that customer service piece that we're really trying to drive. And then a few emerging opportunities that I'll just quickly touch on. Critical minerals, I already talked about. Data centers. So 3 key reasons why we're competitive for data centers. We have a deregulated electricity market. Thank you, Government of Alberta. We don't have earthquakes. And we also have flat land. We're boring. So that makes us really competitive for data centers. And then biofuels. This is a real opportunity that we're looking at. I was talking to a major airline the other day, and they said that they're desperate for biofuels, and it's one of the only ways they're going to meet their ESG targets. Well, we are a major canola producer and a producer of agricultural products that are used in biofuels. We have expertise in fuel production. There's no reason why we can't be a biofuel producer for the entire world. So I talked a little bit about what we do, some of those trends, trying to keep it to 20 minutes. I know I'm failing miserably. And what I can do is just leave off with this and connect with people afterwards because I'm sure there's lots of questions you want to connect. But I want to just touch on quickly how we can help your community or your business because that's something that we get asked a lot. So we can connect you with potential investors and potential partners. So a lot of investors are looking for strategic partners. There is a data center company out of Ireland that bid on the Amazon project, and they're working on it. And they don't set up shops in other locations. They do this, they expand through partnerships. So they look for a partner company in that jurisdiction. So they partnered with a company in Alberta, and those are the kinds of connections that we can make. Connecting with our global network. If you're looking to expand globally or just understand other markets better, we have that network across the world that we can connect you into. Attracting more opportunity to Alberta. The more that we attract to Alberta, the more opportunity there is for other business. Sometimes we hear from communities, the businesses say, we don't want any, we don't want the competition. But the reality is the more activity we bring in, the better it actually is for most businesses across the community. And then we also have this thing called the Opportunity Book. So when it comes to capital investors, we often are talking to these investment firms and these private equity funds, and they say, what do you have that we can invest in? And we said, we have lots of things. So we needed things that are specific that we could put in front of these investors. And we also had companies across Alberta say to us, we are looking for investment. We want an investor, we want a partner so we can scale and we can create this new business line. So we created the Opportunity Book. It's accessible through our website, and businesses can go there and fill out some information and be included in this book. And we don't publish it publicly, that's the agreement, but we are able to give it to capital investors and our international offices so that they can do some matchmaking. And if the investor sees something that's of interest, we make the connection and you take it from there. So this is one of the tools that we're piloting to try to help connect businesses with capital. Because what I will say is when we did the research on capital investors, 83% of the ones that we researched are aware of Alberta, so that's a good start, and 76% said they were likely to invest. So knowing that there's that captive audience out there, we want to match that intent and that potential with the projects here in Alberta. And then in terms of senior decision makers, only 63% of them are aware of Alberta, and only 56% are likely to invest. So this is where we are working really hard to raise that awareness, and we've developed some marketing campaigns, and we're going out into the world to try to build the awareness with those key target audiences. Same thing with entrepreneurs. Only 64% are aware of Alberta, and 60% are likely to invest. So our view is if we get more people aware of Alberta, that likely to invest number goes up along with it, because we have a really incredible value proposition, and we have a lot of potential here. We're working on the Alberta brand, so I'm excited to probably in the next month or so be able to share that with everyone. But if there's anything else that you're interested in that Invest Alberta is doing, whether it's our marketing materials, whether it's our research, we're happy to really share everything with our partners. And if you're interested in connecting your business into us, you're interested in expanding, obviously you have an amazing team here, but we are also happy to help in any way that we can to support the City of St. Albert Economic Development team and of course the Edmonton Global team. So with that, please feel free to reach out to me or any of our team members. I can be your conduit, and thank you so much for inviting me here today, and I look forward to connecting with everyone either today or later on. Thanks.
All right, so yes, I was going to make sure that everybody, I know we've got a group, an audience here of busy people, so I'm going to take this one on as the MC. All that power went to my head, I think, and I want to give people an opportunity to leave if they do. They've got other meetings that they need to take right now. Oh, perfect. So we're filming this, so we'll be able to access and I guess the final presentation for those that do have to leave right now. So. Lynette, thank you very much for bringing that perspective and those insights from Invest Alberta. I think it's great to sort of see the successes locally, the successes regionally, and the successes sort of at the provincial level as well. And we're all pushing in the same direction, which I think is the great part. Also, thank you for calling my bluff, or our bluff, on the 20 minutes part. You win. And for those of you who do have time to stick around for our final presentation, this part is usually pretty exciting. So Christian Benson from our Economic Development Department is going to provide a bit of an update on some investment and development activity in St. Albert. So you'll get to find out about some new retailers and other new businesses and projects here in St. Albert. So Christian is the Manager of Investment Attraction and Growth with the City of St. Albert's Economic Development Department. He's been involved in local government for the past 17 years with various roles focusing on business development, alternative energy, environmental compliance, and public operations. His education includes a Bachelor of Commerce from the University of Alberta and certifications in economic development and municipal government leadership. Christian's currently enrolled in an MBA with Royal Roads University. He's married and has 2 young children, and hopefully he's the fastest talker you've ever heard. So please join me in welcoming Christian to the stage.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, Mike told me I got a tight 15, then they're cutting the mic. So we're going to be in a tight 15, folks. So good morning, everybody. I'm Christian Benson, Manager of Investment Traction and Growth with the St. Albert's Economic Development Department. This morning, I will be taking you on a tour of St. Albert. Oh, am I doing my own slides? There we go. All right. Sorry, guys. I thought you guys were doing them. I'll be taking you on a tour of St. Albert for an investment and development update. It's been a couple of years since our team has had the opportunity to share with you folks some exciting developments in the city, and I get to provide you with essentially 3 years of updates. So picture this. You are traveling home to St. Albert after a long trip. Let's say the kids are with the grandparents, so there's no screaming in the car, and you actually get to take your time as you drive through St. Albert. As you enter the city from Anthony Hendy up through Ray Gibbon Drive, you'll see 3 new developments on the south side of the city. On your right will be the Anthony Hendy Business Park, along with a new 6-story tower in Bellevue Village, and directly across from Riel Drive is Midtown by Averton. The Anthony Hendy Business Park, developed by Quadreal, is home to many of the city's newest businesses, including Uline, Alberta Beverage Container Recycling Corporation's Northern Operations, and the newest tenant, OK Tire, a warehousing facility that was recently completed in the 197,000 square foot building, just completed this past December. Quadreal is set to start another building in the Anthony Hendy Business Park at nearly 170,000 square feet with additional build-to-suit options available. Just north of the Anthony Hendy Business Park is Averton's Midtown development, which probably should be called Award Town, having recently won several accolades at the Canadian Home Builders Association Edmonton Award of Excellence, including Best New Community, Best Townhouse Duplex Project, Best Multifamily over 500,000, and Best Sales and Information Center Multifamily. Midtown is also Canada's first Built Green certified community, which is a certification that promotes and encourages sustainability and environmental responsibility building practices. In total, this 45-acre community will be home to just over 1,000 residents at full build-out. Across from Midtown and immediately adjacent to the Enjoy Center is Bellevue Village, developed by the Cape Group. Many of you have seen the existing 6-story building with 150 residential units. However, the site will extend out to the entire 13.5-acre parcel with up to 150,000 square feet of future retail and commercial, including a large format retail with 40,000 square feet. The site has a heck of a view. It overlooks the Lois Hall Centennial Park, the Sturgeon River, and Big Lake. After a quick loop through South Riel, we are now back on Ray Gibbon Drive, and we're headed north to see St. Albert's future industrial and employment area, known as Lakeview Business District. Lakeview has been identified and designated as St. Albert's next business park location. The area, a greenfield site, is 613 acres total, with the city owning 176 acres in the northwest section. With Campbell Business Park and Riel nearing full build-out, the city is focused on this area as industrial growth and employment, with half of future jobs in the city expect to be located in Lakeview. According to the Collier's 2022 Q1 Edmonton report, St. Albert sits at only 0.9% industrial vacancy, indicating a strong need for new industrial lands in the city. The growth is expected to include light and medium industrial uses, manufacturing, transportation, logistics, technology, health, and research and development. The area structure plan is currently underway for Lakeview with an expectation of council review by the end of 2022, early 2023. Helping service Lakeview and the growing community is the Ray Gibbon Drive Phase 2 expansion. And if you're like me and you drive this road every single day, you'll see work underway to twin the roadway from McKinney Ave to Leclerc Way, with intersection improvements at McKinney Ave and a new bridge over the Sturgeon River. This project is a cost-sharing partnership between the City of St. Albert and the Government of Alberta. In addition to widening of the roadway to a divided highway, this project also includes trails on the east and west sides of the road to encourage active transportation and trail connectivity in the city. Ray Gibbon Drive currently sees approximately 24,000 vehicles a day, with the expectation of completion of Phase 2 by fall 2022. With the investment and partnership from the province, St. Albert is positioned to unlock this vital area for new economic growth and transportation of people and goods. Okay, we're headed north now on Ray Gibbon Drive, and this is going to very much test out my French pronunciation. It's the new neighborhoods of Chiraut and Villegiroux. My French-speaking mother would hate that I just said that. The Villegiroux neighborhood, developed by the Sidex Group, has seen considerable growth over the past 5 years. Starting with shops at Giroux, there's a strong commercial tendency from the Ridge Social Eatery, Dental Wellness Center, and a huge shout out to Hopscotch Daycare for putting up with my angelic daughters who are lovely but incredibly loud. There are a handful of existing bays between 950 and 1,200 square feet on site for commercial and future retail opportunities. Villegiroux also includes several new multifamily developments, including the Giroux Estates, the recently completed Solis Giroux luxury apartment rentals, and announcing today, thanks to the Sidex Group, a 245-unit, 8-story apartment complex with amenities building at the property of 20 Villemanger Road, with construction expected in 2022-2023. West of Villegiroux and just north of Lakeview is the Chiraut neighborhood, developed by Rohit Communities. Named after the Chiraut family, who were early settlers and emigrated to Canada in 1911 from France. Combined with the adjacent Avenir lands, Chiraut is expected to call home for nearly 8,000 future St. Albert residents, and very excitingly, the 245-acre site has also been identified from our council as a location for St. Albert's future community amenities site and recreation center. Staying in the west of St. Albert, and we continue our leisurely drive to visit the Nouveau community of Nouveau and Riverside. The Nouveau community by Strata Developments is a brand new 80-acre neighborhood in North St. Albert. Nouveau will feature highly efficient and sustainable homes, as well as being the first developer to build in a zero lot line, allowing for more affordable family housing. Nouveau is also one of the first neighborhoods to start under the city's new municipal development plan, Flourish, with the intention of new sustainable community design. Home builders for Nouveau include Pacesetter, Coventry, as well as the return of Jamin Built Homes, who will be featuring 2 fully net zero homes. Moving more central into St. Albert, our tour takes us to the beautiful community of Riverside. Just a note, I am currently building a new home in Riverside, so I'll do my best to cut down on the flowery editorial comments. As I was saying, the stunningly beautiful neighborhood of Riverside, with the natural beauty of the Greyhounds White Spruce Park, is Riverside Landing. This Hopewell development is currently home to the Co-op Gas Bar and Liquor Store, as well as the planned Co-op Grocery Store, who we are told will begin construction this year. Existing retail opportunities between 1,500 square feet and 8,000 square feet are available. This development will perfectly complement the surrounding Riverside neighborhood, which at full build-out will be home to nearly 10,000 residents, including my family of 4, or maybe 5. I haven't really talked to my wife about it, but this is maybe not. No, like my dad's in the room. We're not announcing another, and my father-in-law. We're not announcing another baby. Sorry. So directly north of Riverside Landing and across from McKinney Ave will be the new commercial development by Alliance MJ Developments, offering a range of commercial bay sizes from 1,100 square feet to 3,700 square feet.
You're one ahead.
Am I? Thanks, Cathy. Back on the road and heading north in St. Albert, there's a hive of activity and new development between the neighborhoods of Jensen Lakes and Aaron Ridge North. Developed by Melcor, Jensen Lakes Crossing is a major commercial center featuring well-known tenants such as Landmark Cinemas, Brown Social House, Canadian Brew House, KB & Co., and the St. Albert Branch Library, with existing leasing opportunities between 1,200 and 12,000 square feet. The surrounding Jensen Lakes community continues with development, initiating stages 10, 12, and 13, and development of St. Albert's first recreational lake and beach club amenity. Jensen Lakes continues to grow and showcase St. Albert-based builders, such as Sarasota Homes, with an estimated build-out population at around 5,800 residents. To the east of Jensen Lakes and across St. Albert Trail is Erin Ridge North, a community developed by Landrix, with commercial developments by EPC Capital and Cameron Developments. Just recently, Landrix announced an exciting new development in partnership with Fort McKay First Nation. Located on a 12.85-acre parcel east of St. Albert Trail and just north of Coal Mine Road, the village will be one of the first and largest partnerships First Nation real estate developments in the Edmonton region. The urban village will be a multifamily, mixed-use development centering on a 1-acre park. Residential capacity is planned to include 300 long-term rental units with an additional 100 units for assisted living and between 60 and 90,000 square feet of commercial space. Congratulations to Landrix and the Fort McKay First Nation on this development, with construction expected in the fall of 2022. North St. Albert has become quite the city's important commercial node, with 128 businesses, 89% which are commercial, and 1.1 million square feet of commercial space. That equates to 12% of the entire city's commercial square footage. North St. Albert employs nearly 1,300 people. Newer commercial tenants in this area include Popeye's Louisiana Chicken, and announcing today, Dickey's Barbecue, which is only the second Canadian location for this American barbecue chain, and I absolutely love barbecue, so I'll definitely be there. Co-op Liquor Store, new location for a St. Albert staple in Tandoori Fusion, Erin Ridge Children's Academy, St. Albert Dodge, St. Albert Honda, and the new Holiday Inn Express. So we're getting back in the car and we're heading south on St. Albert Trail, and at this point I'm sure you're sick of this analogy, but I'm going to continue along with it. We're headed to the Riverbank Landing development off Belrose Drive, and then onward onto city's downtown. Riverbank Landing, developed by Boudreaux Communities, is a transformative project that'll see 5 new buildings on the former Holds Greenhouse site. Construction of the 15-story tower and first office building will begin this fall in 2022, with a total build-out of 365 residential units, varying in size between 700 and 2,045 square feet. There is going to be over 67,000 square feet of total expected commercial space, with restaurants, rentals, and medical space starting in 2023. The residential condo has already experienced very strong interest through pre-sales, with 34% of the building already pre-sold. So if you're interested, get on it, I guess. Moving to the Amacon development, Grandin Park Village, downtown continues to evolve and redefine its presence. Grandin Park Village, which include mixed-use residential, office and retail at the 10-acre site between Grandin Road and Sir Winston Churchill Ave. The long-standing 6-story office tower at Grandin Park Village underwent a complete interior and exterior $9 million renovation, offering new opportunities for commercial and retail space within St. Albert's downtown area. Since the renovation was complete in mid-2019, new tenants include Alberta Pacific Forest Industries, Edwards Jones Investment, Reitz & Law, Allison Jones Immigration Consultant, Valor Law, and Symmetry Family Law. Future development will see the addition of a residential tower and 2 mixed-use retail buildings for a total of 18,000 square feet of commercial space and up to 1,200 new residents at full build-out. Other developments within the downtown area include 22 St. Thomas Street. This is a 1.3-acre greenfield parcel that's currently undeveloped, but it's proposed to be a mixed-use residential with ground-floor commercial site aimed at mixed-market housing. This development is still at the proposal stage with an expectation of future council discussion to take place in the coming month. At the gateway of St. Albert's downtown and on the corner of St. Anne Street and St. Albert Trail is the St. A Square building by Niche Developments. St. A Square is proposed to be Canada's first zero-emission multi-tenant rental with 7 floors of residential units and ground floor construction. This major development to the downtown area will restart construction this month. Actually, immediately, I drove by it this morning. Our last stop on our tour of St. Albert takes us to the Campbell Business Park. Campbell is one of St. Albert's most important industrial areas, with over 2.3 million square feet of industrial space and employing almost 1,500 people. Campbell is also home to St. Albert's institution in the Northern Alberta Business Incubator, which many of you know as NABI. Since its beginning, NABI has graduated over 470 member businesses and helped enable over 3,000 entrepreneurs to capitalize on new opportunities. 80% of NABI's alumni companies have lasted more than 5 years, with many lasting for decades, contributing over $480 million to the economy. Currently, NABI supports 87 active member companies, and they're expanding capacity to serve even more. Campbell has also seen many new businesses this year, including the Durr line, which was first announced this morning, and they worked with CBRE to be located at the 150,000 square foot, 12-acre site at 220 Carnegie Drive. The city also welcomes Rukon Contracting at the former city-owned Greenfield site at 47th Street, and pictured on the bottom right is Rukon's work on Edmonton City Tower. Also, Dynamics Gymnastics Club, who worked with Colliers to find their new home at 175 Carleton Drive. I think that's a tight 15, so I feel good about myself. So that'll take us to the end of the 2022 tour. I'll pass it back to Mike for closing comments.
All right, a quick draw here, and then we're going to let everybody go. Oh, jeez.
You have to be in the room to win.
We don't have time for that.
Yes, we do. Otherwise, I have to delete.
All right, I've got Max McPeak here. Perfect.
I'll bring it to you.
And Wayne Scrivens. Oh, he's lucky he's got family in the room. Excellent. Okay. All right, thank you everyone for your patience. I know we ran a little long today, but I thought there was a lot of great content. That's it. That concludes our program. Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you all next year. Hopefully you learned something new. Thank you.